Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our fantasy football wide receiver rankings for 2020. Specifically, we're talking about wide receiver threes. These are the upside wide receivers you need to target in the middle rounds of your fantasy football draft. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right now.
Hit that drop. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin and that is Kyle. And we want to say thank you for dropping by. Took a little bit of time out of your day to listen to us, and thanks for listening to our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. And today we will start our newest update in our wide receiver rankings. And we're going to start off with wide receiver threes. Yesterday, Kyle dropped a mock draft on Mock Draft Monday, and it was a 12-team super flex mock. It's becoming more and more popular, so definitely check that out in the description below. Also, Kyle Point. It's going to be up there where Kyle points. Up there. So without further ado, Kyle's going to mention a couple more things, and we're going to get right into our wide receiver threes.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to mention. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. Make sure you click that, click the bell. That way you get notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. Yep. Now let's go ahead and dive in head first into the shallow end here.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start wide receiver 3 off with number 36 here, guys. We're doing a 12-team rankings, so we're going to go 36 down to 25 here today. And so we've got number 36 is Julian Edelman of the Patriots still for now, right?
Yep.
I think we had him at 33 last time we talked in our rankings.
I think so, yes.
So he slid a little bit for the both of us, I think. We both like that they've added Cam Newton, but Edelman's on the back end of his career. He had a lot of drops last year. He has been working with Newton. We're not sure about Newton's throwing shoulder. We don't know anything. We're not going to get to see a camp of any kind. So so that doesn't really help us that much, right?
Right.
We're not going to get to see preseason games. Sorry, we might get to see some camp stuff. I would imagine there's going to be a good deal of that on social media.
A lot of hype videos and crap. Yeah.
I would imagine. But, Cam Newton's studying the playbook. He's trying to get up to speed. It's not a super complicated offense, and Edelman is, Mr. Do it all, do it every time kind of thing. He did have a lot of drops. I think we said it was like 10 or 11, if I remember correctly, that he had a lot of drops. And like we mentioned before, that the thing you remember about him is that he would, that catch the Super Bowl, right? That was an insane
catch in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Since then, he's dropped a lot more. So, so he's dropped in our rankings too.
Yeah.
Waka waka, right?
Like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty. Cam Newtown is in town now, and you just don't know exactly what's left with Cam Newton. One thing is you said his shoulder issue with Cam Newton. Well, good thing is Julian Edelman isn't that far from the line of scrimmage whenever he's running routes. So that is one. Yeah, not usually. So I kind of look at him as Julian Edelman as a smaller Greg Olsen type that Newton had in the Panthers, that he targets one guy quite a bit. And, we're just down on Julian Edelman compared to other people just because of the uncertainty. Edelman's always coming back from injury. And you mentioned the drops. It's just a lot of uncertainty here. And I think when it comes to the Patriots and overall in fantasy football, you just don't know what you're going to get this year. So we're going to fade them a little bit more just based off uncertainty.
Usually it's the running back position that's the real problem in the Patriots, right? That you really can't anticipate who's going to have the ball handed to them regularly. I think you're getting a little bit more certainty now on that one because it looks like Sony Michel's got some injury issues. Potentially he may not be ready to go. Right. So that clears that up a tad bit. I don't know.
Tad bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You just don't know what post Tom Brady Patriots really looks like.
No.
And that's why we're going to fade them a little bit. But, I mean, if you do need to put him out as your wide receiver 3 or a flex, I mean, you could do worse.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you could.
You could do worse.
I would prefer him as a flex, not my wide receiver 3.
Right.
But, yeah.
Alrighty.
All right,
so up next at number 35, we have Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. And, I mean, this guy, I think, was 3rd in targets last year at 154, right around there.
How many of those did Joe Burrow throw?
That's the thing is, you know, the quarterback play that he got last year was a little suspect. I mean, Andy Dalton came out, and then he got benched. And then he came back again. a red rocket, you know.
Red rifle, red rocket's very different.
Whoopsies.
Red rifle. Red
rifle. Close enough. If people made it this far, they'll get a good chuckle out of that one.
I hope.
I hope.
Stay tuned for more stupidity later.
Well, he got that many targets because there wasn't that much wide receiver, depth on the team. And I think that's going to change. John Ross hopefully is going to be healthy this year.
I heard
Green.
Yeah, I think
hopefully going to be healthy this year.
That guy's still playing, I heard.
Yeah, and he's pretty good. He may show up on this list. You never know. But they also drafted T. Higgins out of Clemson. So they've added a lot more weapons to this offense. And, Joe Mixon is still back there. Giovanni Bernard's still back there catching balls. So I think
fewer
there's
and
a little
fewer,
bit more. But it's a little bit more of a less opportunity share this year compared to previous years. So we see his targets going down a little bit, but still valuable.
I also have a little bit of a question about what that offense is, right?
We don't know.
This is a new offense.
Zach
we
Taylor?
don't know.
Yeah.
This is new, and it's got a new QB. There's a new wide receiver, coming through the door here. There's a lot of questions. So that's why, he's a solid talent. That's why he's still in our wide receiver 3 category. Otherwise, he would have been pushed back out of there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. And we've got at 34, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown with the Ravens. So I've not been a huge fan on him. He showed up really big at the beginning of the season last year. And I feel like there was a rush to the waiver wire, but I think he was also on a lot of teams as like a sleeper pick kind of. I think that in our league, he was already off the board, if I remember correctly, at the very end of the draft. But I've just not been huge on him because I didn't see consistency out of him. And not only that, it's an offense that really wants to control the clock, wants to run the ball primarily, and they've been willing to let the QB actually run undesigned plays, like, just QB option, QB delayed sneaks, that sort of stuff. And can you blame them? But at the same time, I think that they've said they do want to throw more. And I don't really question Lamar Jackson's ability to throw. I think he can. And I think as he learns defenses and he learns his offense a lot better, he's just going to get better in that category. And so I really am not afraid of that. My issue is that I think he's a player that's a little bit more like a Stefon Diggs in my mind, where he's more of a deep threat, has blow-up games, but has the capability to completely disappear. And as a younger guy, I think that's much more prevalent in that he'll disappear. And I think it's also an issue that he's on an offense that wants to run first. It's the same thing happened with Diggs at times, because that is an offense that wants to run first, right? They wanted to always put the ball in the hands of Dalvin Cook. He just couldn't stay healthy. And so they had to go to Diggs and Thielen much more often. This guy's obviously their wide receiver 1 in the long run here. So you have to have faith in that respect. So if dynasty, I want Marquise Brown on my team because I think he's about a year or so away from being a legitimate wide receiver 2. But I think that he's conservatively back in wide receiver 3. So that's what I've got on him. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just you just mentioned boomer bust. You said he's the wide receiver 1, but I don't think he's the number 1 receiving option on this team. That's Mark Andrews most likely. That is a run heavy team, like you mentioned, and you talked about Adam Thielen, Stefon Diggs with the Vikings being a run heavy team, but once again, Adam Thielen was still the number 1 target on that team. And this is another one of those things. This is the number 2 target on a team, and he did come out crazy. He came out with a big game right at the beginning, but
so did Sammy Watkins.
The NFL's kind of caught up a little bit, and the guy is slight of frame. And all reports are saying, though, he's packed on the weight. He's doing everything he can to be out there and be consistent.
That might only slow him down, though. That might only slow him down.
It's just you hope the booms outweigh the busts, and that's just really hard to really trust. So that's what I got on Hollywood.
He's also Antonio Brown's cousin, right? Is that right?
Oh, geez, don't go there.
I'm pretty sure he is, though. All right, who you have at 33?
Up next at 33, we have Christian Kirk, Arizona Cardinals. And this is another one of those ones where he's a well, I think third year. This is going into his third year.
Yeah, he's going into his third year.
We do like third-year wide receivers, and we just see the Arizona Cardinals offense just going up and up with Kyler Murray, being a rookie last year, up and down, but I think another year under Cliff Kingsbury, that offense is just skyrocketing. They have the weapons for sure. They have DeAndre Hopkins now with Christian Kirk, with Larry Fitzgerald, Andy Isabella, Keyshawn Johnson. They have a lot of weapons there, but I still think Christian Kirk is the number 2 wide receiver on the outside, and you just got to think about the number of double teams that is going to be on that other side with DeAndre Hopkins. And maybe that opens up a little bit more with Christian Kirk in the outside, even in the slot. He does a little bit of everything. And he just has shown that he can perform with the ball in his hands. He's got to get a little bit more. And we've talked about the Cardinals on trying to run as many plays as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
No.
So that's why I think we have a pretty good wide receiver 3 with some good upside.
Yeah, I've got him actually, I think at like 23, and you have him at 41. He's sitting at 33 for us. I guess I'm comfortable with him at 33. I've got him just sneaking inside of wide receiver 2 territory. Yeah. But that's because I think that offense is going to present enough volume to justify that. They want to throw the lights out. They really, really do. They just want to just throw the ball constantly. That's why they have a pass catching running back, so they don't have to pull him off the field and waste time. They want to run plays up tempo, constantly moving, and keep it going. And let's face it, that defense sucks. It didn't change. It hasn't changed a bit from last year, and it's terrible. Yeah. It is absolutely terrible. If you have a tight end, start it against them. And so they're going to be playing from behind still, and that means they're just going to throw it even more. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is in town, and that's going to definitely take a lot of volume, but I think that there was volume available. And so I see Christian Kirk improving in his route running a little bit more. I see him improving in getting separation and just making space for himself. I think he's going to do a great job. He plays both out wide and in the slot, and so he can be moved all over the field. I think he's going to be a little bit more of a utility guy in a lot of respects, and I think as a result, he's just going to see a lot more targeting than he did even last year. That's not to say he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on that team. It's just to say that I think he's got a really good chance of showing up like Michael Gallup showed up last year, like Calvin Ridley has shown up, and that, these guys are the future, and Christian Kirk is the future of that team. DeAndre Hopkins is the now, though. So, all right, let's move on here.
Why I was a little bit down compared to you, the fact that there wasn't as much talent in that wide receiver room last year, and he didn't really take the reins to really make me think, okay, this guy's ready for the next step. But this could be a great addition. You know what I mean, with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I think you make a great point saying that Hopkins is going to draw a lot of attention. Yeah. And with those defenses in the NFC West, that's great. That's great for Kirk. He didn't show up great because he was the only option.
Was the number 1 option, which was tough for a second-year wide receiver.
Yeah, take a little bit of pressure off of him. Take that second guy bracketing over the top, that kind of stuff. You take that away, and suddenly you've got a more potent receiver, and then you add in a solid running game. Like, may not be blow me away running game, but it's going to be solid enough to keep guys off the edges a little bit, Yeah. All right, so let's move on here to number 32. We have surprise for a lot of people, I'm guessing, because a lot of people are really high on this guy, and we are not. And that is DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. As of right now still, right? No, he's second-year guy. He did put in a solid year 1. I think that both of us just don't believe that this offense is going to turn in 2 guys who are going to be wide receiver 1/2. And that's what everybody's drafting right now. Either people are betting that DK Metcalf has already surpassed Tyler Lockett, or they believe that both of these guys are going to be 1,000-yard receivers in an offense that's going to throw to the tight end first. That doesn't make sense to me, right? And not only that, Lockett's got that thing. He's got it locked up, right? He just totally has that wide receiver 1 set up, and DK Metcalf is not taking that away. I think that people were a little surprised that he was able to improve his route running skills going into the year. But I don't think that he really improved or demonstrated a great deviation from what the consensus opinion about him really actually is.
Right.
I think that he He showed that he has a little bit more than what people thought he was capable of, but that he doesn't have a whole lot more. Unless he's just completely revamped that problem going from last year to this year, I don't see him overtaking Lockett, and I don't see him being a wide receiver 2. I think middle wide receiver 3, that's doing pretty well, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
don't go draft that guy early, guys. Don't be the one who's drafting him, 13th wide receiver off the board.
Don't be that
Right.
guy.
That's not going to win. That's not going to win you your draft.
Yeah, because I think that's still his ADP right now, which is just it's just
blows
crazy.
My mind. Blows my mind.
It's recency bias because
Yeah.
I mean he did blow up in the playoffs. He had a great game and he was good towards the end of the season. The reason why is because Tyler Lockett was banged up. He had an injury.
Yeah.
I mean Tyler Lockett was setting the world on fire, finally being that wide receiver 1 on that.
Hit it on the nose.
Yep. It's just Tyler Lockett is not giving up that wide receiver 1 targets, and Russell Wilson still loves Tyler Lockett, so that's going to continue. Tyler Lockett also, I think, in the last 3 years has the second or third most wide touchdowns by wide receivers.
I buy it. Yeah, I buy it.
So
the dude specializes in 30-yard, down the middle post route, right?
Yeah. So
getting over top of defense, that's what he does. But
Yeah.
he makes moves at the line to get there. Right.
And he's still going into his prime right now. Tyler Lockett is. And you also mentioned this is a run heavy team. It's still Pete Carroll's coaching this team. So it's hard to carry 2 fantasy relevant wide receivers, especially when you have a decent tight end room. So that's what I have on DK. I didn't even really talk about DK. I talked about Tyler Lockett.
That's okay.
All those things
that's
make
really
you realize
important,
why we kind of fade DK right now.
Yeah.
So up next at 31 is Keenan Allen of the Chargers. That's another guy that we faded compared to maybe the.
Don't tell him.
Yeah.
Don't tell him.
Yeah, that was,
man, he got really mad.
He just said he was
not
the
about
best
us, not
wide
about
receiver in the AFC West.
Well, he thinks he said I'm the best wide receiver in the AFC West, and then he called out like Calvin Ridley and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans.
Yeah.
But he called out Chris Goodwin, not Chris Godwin. And then he goes, "Well, I'm better than that guy too." And it's like, dude, what is? You just gotta let me take a few of those chips off your shoulder. I'm a little hungry, man.
Maybe just a little self-awareness. I mean, because you just lost a somewhat potential Hall of Famer. He's going to be on the borderline kind of thing with Phillip Rivers. I mean, he was Phillip Rivers' go-to guy, and yet he still didn't have the consistency. Like, people think of Keenan Allen and they think of consistency, but then whenever you actually break down the numbers, they just were not there last year. I mean, he had way more games outside of wide receiver 3, so outside of 36. I mean, there was more games in the outside of wide receiver 50 range from Keenan Allen last year compared to.
Go check out our bust episode, guys.
Yeah.
You'll see what we broke it down. We broke it down.
We think that he's going to be better with Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor. I don't get it. Tyrod Taylor, what he did with the Browns is he chucked the ball down the field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not Keenan Allen. That's Mike Williams.
Yeah.
So, and the big thing when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, a lot of time with the big arm like Justin Herbert, they struggle with those intermediate short throws. Hey, Keenan Allen lives in the slot. Those are what the throws are.
Yeah.
So that's why we fade Keenan Allen right here at the Chargers, and I think we're going to be right. But hey, if you don't think we're going to be right, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah,
what do you got on
tell us
Keenan?
how wrong we are. I have just what you have. This dude's not a consistent player. Yeah, he'll get you 1,000 yards, but he's going to get it in 5 games. The rest of the season, it's going to suck, guys. It's really going to be terrible. You're going to get 30 yards on 2 catches. Like, that's just not – I mean, the guy disappears, straight up disappears. It's good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, a blow-up. And then he disappears for 3 weeks. Like, that's
it's hard
the way
to
he
trust
rolls.
that in your starting lineup. That's just too hard to trust.
Yeah. I mean, and, there's a reason that Phillip Rivers was checking down more and more and more frequently. And it wasn't because he just couldn't throw the ball down the field. We all know that's not the case. It's because his guys just weren't getting open enough anymore. And so he'd have to check down the passes. All right, let's move on here to number 30. We're right on number 30. Yep. All right. We've got Courtland Sutton with the Broncos, another guy that we're going to make everybody mad about, right?
Yep.
Everybody's high on Sutton, and I don't get it. We broke this one down as well. I think he's in our bust episode, right?
Yeah.
I think both Keenan Allen and Courtland Sutton were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Courtland Sutton is going into, I think, his second year here. He's got, is it second or third? I think it's his third year. And our biggest problem with him is that he's got additional competition now.
Yeah.
He's most likely got a better running game going on behind him, which can open up opportunity for wide receivers. I'm not going to say otherwise, but it also could be that a team that wants to be a defense first team could also say we're going to run the ball to control the clock and not necessarily try to take risk down the field with Courtland Sutton.
Right.
Then you add in the fact of his QB being Drew Lock. And that's the biggest knock for me is I just don't believe in Drew Lock. I don't believe in John Elway's ability to evaluate talent in the end.
You don't think he can draft a quarterback?
Nope, he's never done it.
with his history, what are you talking about?
I think I actually went through and counted it down, and I think you and I both did. Right? We counted it down. It was like 19 quarterbacks in the last.
We
10
wanted to
years.
get sad one night, so we looked at all John Elway's draft picks for quarterbacks.
Yeah, we're like
we threw on some simple plans,
that
some emo music.
Yeah, we lit a candle. Yeah, we got a little bit of Cavassier out, and we got a bit of ennui because this dude can't evaluate QBs. He's a QB, right? But he can't evaluate QBs. All he can go is, well, Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl. Why don't I get him? And then he did, and voila, right? But he hasn't gotten anything else. Like, no, he was like, oh, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Why don't I get him? let's get him too.
Breaks his freaking neck.
Yeah. and so now he's stuck with Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And that is not an enviable position to be.
No.
I think both of us are the same on Sutton at this point, that it really boils down to, it's not necessarily him so much as it is what's around him that causes his problem. And just look at our bust episode. We break down a lot of the stats and why the hype machine is just that. It's just a hype machine right now on him. And so don't go over there and draft this guy really high, guys. Don't do that.
So there was hardly any weapons on this team last year. And we talked about when we did that bust episode, we talked about whenever they traded Emmanuel Sanders, you would think Courtland Sutton's production, everything would go up or his opportunity would go up. They didn't. That's the issue right there.
Yep.
And that also coincides with Drew Lock being the quarterback. So with those two things, you would think that would be a plus. You would want to target, a guy that's on the up and up, but they didn't do that. And then let's go ahead and turn around and draft Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, first two picks that they have. And I don't know. Jerry Jeudy looks like a better wide receiver. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's still really early, of course, to see that. But, yeah, he just didn't improve based off of Emmanuel Sanders being traded away. You mentioned in that episode, hey, let us know if you look through his game log, Courtland Sutton, let us know when you think Emmanuel Sanders was traded because you can't tell.
No, you can't. Yeah, just
really can't.
Check it out. You can't find it. There's no uptick. I mean, how many targets were vacated? We all know Emmanuel Sanders is a target hog, right? So there's a ton of vacated targets, and then suddenly they don't go anywhere.
They don't
go anywhere. They don't go to him. They don't go anywhere. They're just not there anymore.
All right.
So, all right, let's move on, Justin.
29, we have AJ Green, Bengals, and we already mentioned this in the beginning of this one, and we just wish this guy is going to be healthy this year. They wouldn't sign him to a franchise if they didn't think they were healthy. I mean, this is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're cheap as – I almost said the bad word. Crap. I almost said a bad word. They're really cheap.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, right.
After what you said earlier. Red Rocket.
Well, now you had to mention it again.
Yeah.
The heck are you doing?
Oh, it's going to be a thing.
It is now.
Yeah.
But, we're not going to be talking about Andy Dalton too much probably in our podcast. But back to AJ Green. This guy, if he's on the field, he's talented. He finishes a top 10 wide receiver every time he takes the field. And we're just hoping that his ankles stay healthy enough. He's also had some toe issues. So he's got a lot of foot issues for a guy that's, I think, 32, 33. But he's got the pedigree. He's shown it in the past. And it's one of those things where if you have a rookie quarterback like a Joe Burrow, he is probably going to target guys that are veterans that can get open and it can go up and get the ball. AJ Green can go up and get the ball. He's going to be a really nice red zone target for Joe Burrow, throwing a nice, beautiful ball, little post route into the corner. I mean, that's one of AJ Green's specialties. So I could see a good year from AJ Green as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are a little bit higher on AJ Green than we are, and I think
Possibly.
it just boils down to you know, recognizing 2 years ago he was a top player, right? But you also have to look at it and say, well, he's got a rookie quarterback, he's got a rookie head coach, new offense, all this stuff is very, very different. Yeah, they're going to feature the talent, right? They're going to feature him. They're going to go after what he brings and
Right.
presents. That's a certainty. But whether or not that's going to be a wide receiver 1 or even a wide receiver 2, I think is really up in the air right now. And I
Yep.
think you have to draft according to the risk, not according to the desire for what he should be or could
Right.
be, right? So he's got the potential. He could boom on you. All right,
Oh, yeah.
let's move on here
Yes,
to
sir.
number 28. We've got Stefon Diggs with the Buffalo Bills now, guys.
Yeah.
Remember that, Buffalo Bills. All right, so Stefon Diggs, he's definitely the wide receiver 1 on the Bills now, in my opinion. He does
Okay.
have a little bit of competition there, but I think that he's the better wide receiver of the two.
Mhm.
The issue is he's new to the offense, right? So a
Right.
new wide receiver in the offense, a guy who has very inconsistent play.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's going to perform as the wide receiver 1 for that offense. That's the problem. And I don't personally have a lot of faith in Josh Allen as a QB. That's my opinion on it. I feel like his points last year that everybody's drafting him 7th QB overall right now for whatever reason is because you have to look at the anomaly of his
9
rushing touchdowns. 9
touchdowns.
rushing touchdowns.
9.
Yeah, 9. If you can just bring that back down to average, which is like 3 or 4, I would bet.
Yeah.
Let's give him one more. Let's call it 5, right? You're going to lose 24 points off the top there. That automatic. I mean, think about that. The spread between QB1 and QB2 usually is less than 100 points. I'm sorry, QB1 and QB12 is usually less than 100 points. If a guy loses 24 points, that has the potential to move him from QB7 to QB not a starter,
That's a big
right?
drop.
That's a big drop. That's a really big drop for a QB. And you want to take his number 1 option in the like 4th or 5th round? No, don't do that. Don't draft Stefon Diggs as wide receiver 2. He is a wide receiver 3 at best, in my opinion. This is an offense that wants to control the ball. It's built to beat the Patriots. That's to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. He's not there anymore, but that's what they're built to do, is keep the ball keep the ball on the field on their offense.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do. That defense is supposed to be the lead for them.
Yep.
And that's the way they're built. This is a game, a clock control, clock management offense. So that's where I am with them.
Yeah, when it comes to Stefan as well, like what I look at, with this offseason is going to be kind of odd with no preseason games or anything like that. John Brown is the other wide receiver in that room, and he actually did pretty well with Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I mean, he
I like
had
John Brown.
he's 60 yards almost every game kind of thing. He just didn't have the touchdown production, which is because he was running him in. Well, Josh Allen, he likes to target one. He's a one read kind of guy or takes off. And without that preseason, without that work, I think that he can get with Stefon Diggs this year. You still may have to look at John Brown as the number 1 wide receiver in that room just because of this issue, with this craziness of this offseason. And also when you look at Stefon Diggs, I mean, he was getting pissed off multiple times whenever Kirk Cousins couldn't hit him down the field because he's a downfield target. He always leads the league or up there at the top with downfield targets. And if you're pissed that Kirk Cousins can't hit you down the field accuracy-wise, what is going to happen whenever Josh Allen throws him 10 yards too far? I just watched a video a couple days ago of Josh Allen's misses from deep, and it was sad. I mean, it wasn't even close. The guy has a freaking rocket, but it wasn't close.
Yeah,
so that's why once that
first
couple times that happens, let's see what he does. I mean, he did that on the Vikings sideline. Let's see what he does with the Bills. So,
well, look, he recognizes how difficult it is in his position to get open down the field.
Yeah.
To accomplish that, to get through 3 levels of defense and to be open. And then the dude whose one job it is to be accurate throwing the ball can't be.
Yeah.
You can't throw to the spot 40 yards down the field, right? That's what a pro level quarterback is supposed to be able to do. And so I can't say I disagree with him.
Yep. All right, up next we have number 27, Jarvis Landry, Cleveland Browns. We still like Jarvis Landry here. He's always underrated. He always, he falls in the draft a little bit, and it's one of those things. He's still really dang reliable. I mean, I think 6 years
what he
in a row
is?
of being a top 24 wide receiver.
But you know what he is? He's Frank Gore in the wide receiver room.
He always shows up. I don't think he's missed a single game.
No,
So he always shows up. He always does his job. He's 7'11". He always gets open.
Yeah.
And there is chemistry between him and Baker Mayfield.
And he's Mr. Volume, right?
Yeah.
This dude gets 11 targets a game at least. Like, he's just always getting – and he catches them. That's why he gets 11 targets.
And that's the reason right there. Yeah. That's why there's such a good chemistry between him and Baker. Everybody thought whenever OBJ was traded to the Browns that, Jarvis is going to see a huge dip, in production or volume.
Or opportunity, right?
Or opportunity, sorry. Like, it didn't happen. He actually out-targeted OBJ. Maybe
he was wide receiver
with
one on
OBJ
that team.
being injured, but you just don't know exactly. Or it's just the fact that he's just that good, and him and Baker are just that on sync.
Mm-hmm.
And he does need a lot of volume to be fantasy relevant, especially in non-PPR. So there's a little bit of risk there because of the other weapons that the Browns have, but still, you can't knock the chemistry that those two have. And once again, I bet you he's going to outperform this number 27 ranking that we have.
Probably.
That's just what he does throughout his whole career.
Yeah. Even when he was down in Miami, he was underrated down there too. I mean, I think that Devontae Parker's underrated down there too. There's some risk. It's different. Mm-hmm. But he's always been an underrated guy, Jarvis has. And I saw a stat somewhere the other day, I think it was probably on Twitter or something, where somebody pointed out that Jarvis Landry is still on pace to break Jerry Rice's total catches record. So, but I do want to point out that Jerry Rice's total catches record was on like an average of like 16 yards a catch, and Jarvis Landry is like 9. So
9.
Yeah, it's like
he's
9.
Double digits at least.
It might be 11. I think it's 11.
Yeah.
But
very low for a wide receiver.
Not a whole lot of yardage going on. But I'll tell you, for a guy that maybe you could put in as a wide receiver 3, or even this is a wide receiver I would consider as a flex option because he is so consistent. Mm-hmm. I've had him on teams in the past where I've just been like, he's plug and play. He's Robert Woods was like that until last year. He's just going to show up. He's going to get it done every week. He's going to turn in a solid number for you. It's not going to blow anybody away, but at least you can rely on it. Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Number 26, we've got Diontae Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Choo-choo hype train. Choo-choo.
Yeah.
Choo-choo.
We actually didn't we just draft him in the Quarantine Community League?
We did.
Yeah.
Definitely follow us along on Twitter when it comes to that. It's pretty cool. We signed up with the 12-team league with the other football analysts online on Twitter, so definitely you can follow along. So definitely check that out. Yeah,
it's a unique setup where we suggest 3 players in a poll on Twitter, and then everybody gets to vote, and
the poll's up for an hour. And
yeah.
We may not like your choice, but you know what? We're going to choose them anyways.
You can follow us. Our handle's on the screen here. It's at FFB _upside, right? Or is it the upside? It's FFB _upside.
Yeah.
All right. So Diontae Johnson, I'm probably a little higher on him than you are. And I think that you're afraid that he's going to burn us or something, but I think I got
him at 34.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely, I changed my ranking quite a bit after we talked about him a lot.
Yeah. Look, this guy last year, he got it done pretty solidly in the second half. And during that time, who was throwing him the ball? It was Duck Hodges and Mason, helmet to the head Rudolph. And these two guys are not pro-level quarterbacks. They're just not. They're not starters. They're clipboard guys. They're clipboard heroes. You spit all over yourself.
I did. Sorry. I was just laughing too much. I was just thinking like clipboard Jesus or something like that. I was going to say, which one's going to turn a clipboard duck? Clipboard Duck Hodges?
Clipboard.
Or clipboard helmet to the head.
Yeah. But these guys are not guys who are going to extract the most value out of a wide receiver. Now, Ben Roethlisberger, on the other hand, he can. Yeah. And he can hit those guys wide open, and he can do it past 5 yards. Neither of those guys could. And that's where Diontae Johnson was making hay last year, was within 5 yards, because he would make that first guy miss. It's not because he's faster than anybody. It's not because he runs the best routes. It's because he evades the tackle very, very well. He catches the ball at where it's supposed to be caught, and he gets on his horse. He gets moving. He's a great guy in stride to catch that ball and move. And I like Roethlisberger hitting him all year this year. He's going to have competition with Juju. So I don't know that he's going to be wide receiver 1 or anything, but I think he's got the ability to step up and carry that mantle if Juju continues to have a bad year like he did last year. I don't know. I think Juju's going to try to step up. It's contract year for him, and he's getting one there. So, all right, you got anything to add to Diontae?
Basically, it's all dependent on Ben Roethlisberger. But if he comes back healthy enough with that elbow, he's shown that he can handle at least 2 wide receivers before in the past. Very recently he's been able to handle that. And like you said, Diontae Johnson took this wide receiver room by storm the second half of the season with very suspect QB play. So I think he's going to take another step, second year. I mean, he did that all as a rookie last year. I mean, that's a crappy situation.
I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he led all rookie receivers in total catches last year. And he really only did it in the second half. I'm pretty sure he edged out I don't remember who, but I'm pretty sure he edged someone out. And so, look, a lot of people are sleeping on Roethlisberger. Right.
And sleeping on Diontae.
And they're sleeping on Diontae, but the hype is building up a little bit. It is there. There is, but it's starting to fall away too. I've noticed. I think people are like, "Oh, that's just hype. That's just hype." Just look at the tape. Go and look at the tape. Look at the breakdowns on YouTube that you can find. You'll see some crazy stuff.
Look out how many times Roethlisberger's carried more than 2 relevant wide receivers. It's there.
I mean, AB and Juju were together for how long, right? And AB and Hines Ward, right? I think they were on the field at the same time.
I mean, we talk about Mike Wallace. You can talk about Emmanuel Sanders. You can talk about a lot of guys. I mean, that's wide receiver U right there. The Steelers. So,
all right, let's move on. Our last one, wide receiver 25. Justin, who do you have for
me? We have Terry Scary McLaurin of the Washington football team.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta make sure I put that in there.
I see that you put that in the notes. Washington football team.
I almost typed out the other one, but I did not.
So should we call them the Washington footballs? The football teams? Is
that what they are? I thought, let's call it, Shane Falco's Sentinels.
Yeah. I say they go for it. Maybe that's the IP, the intellectual property that's tied up. They want that maybe. I don't know.
Do it. I don't know. Is McGinty still coaching? Anyways, let's get back to Scary Terry. I mean, this guy came out on fire that first game. I mean, a lot of rookies came out on fire that first game. I mean, he's the top 5 wide receiver that first one. So everybody was going to the waiver wire because he was probably one of those ones that may not have been drafted.
It was a bunch of rookies and Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And they were every single one of them had a big first week and then
I mean, Terry still gave you a little bit of sprinkled in a little bit of some booms here or there, but overall it was kind of like what you would expect from a rookie wide receiver with very suspect QB play. Once again, we're just talking about suspect QB play. I mean, what did they roll out there? Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins. So it's one of those things where it's still a scary situation with the Washington football team when it comes to the overall offense, but he is the number 1 option in that offense. And Dwayne Haskins did perform a little better towards the end of the season, so we're hoping that he takes the next step with Terry. I mean, you get both players on year 2 together. They're probably building that chemistry. And the guy did really well for a third round pick out of Ohio State. So I think he's going to take a next step. And once again, it's volume. When it comes to wide receivers,
so he's going at the top of the 6th round. You taking him at the top of the 6th round?
Top of the 6th. I mean, you're probably looking at a wide receiver 2, 3. You're probably looking at a wide receiver 3. So I would. I mean, this is we basically have him as a low end wide receiver 2, top end wide receiver 3. I would be okay with that, truthfully.
I've got a middle of wide receiver 3. But I think I would consider taking him there. It's a slight reach for me. It's value pick for you.
Yeah, I got him at 23 overall.
Yeah, I think that's actually about right. So it really boils down to, okay, he'll be available in that area. So if you want to target him, then you could probably get him where you should expect him to be. We're not gonna, I think, expect him to really perform as an upper level wide receiver 2. And that's not yet, no. But it's also a problem of the personnel in that offense. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Dwayne Haskins yet. I don't think he's shown that he can do more than he has, or that he's got much more than what he's shown. Last year he was hindered a little bit by the offense, but that offense is never, like, under Jay Gruden, that offense just never ever was able to turn a QB out who was just phenomenal, right? You had a few spurts from RG3, but Kirk Cousins really ran the show after that, right? There was a debate about which one of them is the better guy. And so I don't have a whole lot of faith in Haskins, because I don't really know that they have the talent around all, these two guys to make this offense hum. I think there's a lot of upside, a lot of good guys in that offense who have the potential to do something.
Right.
That's a lot of chips on the table that you're betting on. And there's not a whole lot of proven value sitting.
I don't know if that's a team that you want to go all in on either.
No, we talk about, what offenses are we going to avoid, right? Like, what offenses are we just going to flat out avoid? I'm not saying that this is one of them, but there's really, like, he's like the only thing I'm going for there. I would consider a late round flyer on somebody like Antonio Gibson.
Geis is always flash, but you just don't know
what like all 60
he's going to show up.
So that's where we are, guys. That's it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that bell so that you are notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. We thank you again for being a fan of The Upside, and we're going to see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.